Rules and regulations, all of these rules and regulations. I was, as a proud citizen of the city of Clayton, so excited to get an email. I'm a member of the Hadley Township, just in case you wanted to know where exactly you are right now. My house is right over there. It's this like 1917 mansion. Thanks again for letting me live here. But all these rules and regulations are coming out about the South 40 proposals and the WashU proposals for what is now the area that belongs to Concordia Seminary and Fontbonne, all of these different rules and regulations. And we got the updated list of all the different redlining that's gone through the first drafts. So it was made sure to us that the street lights or the athletic ball field lights would not exceed 80 feet. Not exceed 80 feet. Did you know how important it is that you're going to have an auditorium that it can't exceed more than a 500-seat auditorium? I was like, well, there goes my Taylor Swift invitation. We were going to have her come out, but we're not going to be able to fill that or Mud Field. So in the middle of this, recognizing also that there's rules and regulations about the decibel level. The decibel level. I wish we had these growing up with my sister, screaming wicked at the top of her lungs. So, yeah, and that's exactly what it sounded like, by the way. All of these rules and regulations, I found them very fascinating because there were some things that were saying, okay, you can have an athletic field here, you can have softball and baseball, but it has to end at the inning that happens before 10 o'clock. So if maybe you have a rain delay, well, you're only going to get 3 innings in. Just all these different rules and regulations. Why? Why can't this institution that we know and love do whatever the heck it wants? Because there are some people that, I don't know what's the word, live around this institution, right? And WashU has actually been quite a great neighbor and made sure that there were listening sessions, made sure that they were cooperating with the local authorities, and that made sure that they were a good neighbor. I don't know if this has always been the case, but in recent history, as far as I've been here, I've been really impressed by how they've really extended this olive branch and said, look, like we want to keep growing, and we've got all these ideas and all these plans to make this institution even better, but we want you to be a part of it. That's why the people that live on Ellenwood are not going to have a through street. They made sure that that was put in there in one of the things that are redlined, the rules and regulations. Seems like rules and regulations put us down. Some of you, maybe wizened elder people, talk about maybe the man putting you down, right? Be free, live and let live, and all your hippy-dippy stuff. That's great. There really must have been a time, a generation, where we didn't have these rules and regulations, but we also didn't have liberties where people were able to express them the way that they were and wanted to. But to see rules and regulations maybe with an unbridled sense or a freedom that maybe is like wildfire and doesn't have any control, that's not good either, is it? So how do we find the means or the middle between do whatever you want, be free, and a totalitarian state? Right? There has to be something in the middle, and not just in our civil life, but in religion too. Philosophers say that the word virtue is the middle between excess and deficiency. And I think that's where Jesus is trying to meet us as he's there on the cross. Right? He is the one who is the rule. He's the one who is the standard. He's the one filled with love that flows from his side so that you and I can understand how to freely live. Here's another thing I want to throw at you because I think it's interesting. There are some of us that hear the rule and we want to know how well I need to follow that to be good. Yeah? Anyone? Anyone? Maybe just raise a pinky if that's you, just a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Well, what do I have to do? What do I have to do? How do I have to do it? And how long do I have to do it? All these different things because I want to be good. I want to be good. We justify ourselves by the rules. I just want to call this out on this wonderful beginning of September. It's not a healthy way of living. Okay? It's not a healthy way of living. There are others of us that say, "Psh, rules. Rules are for other people. I don't need to have a license plate. I don't need to follow red light laws. I don't need to do any of those things. I can be mean to whoever I want, when I want. I've got all sorts of fingers. I can gesticulate however I want, whenever I want with them, and say words that correspond with them." We know these people where you almost want to say, like, where do you get off? Like, why do you get to be better than all of us who are trying to follow the rules? Deficiency, excess. What if we try to live in the middle with Jesus? Because this is what he's saying to the Pharisees today. He's like, guys, you're our religious leaders, and you're putting all of these rules about cups and jugs and kettles and beds that really have nothing to do with the Mosaic law. What did we hear Moses say in the first reading? You shall not add to nor subtract from the rules that the Lord has given to us. And here are these guys that have gone all into these particularities. I would say 2 millennia later that it's really important for you to wash your hands before you eat. But what Jesus is talking about there when he's ridiculing how they're washing their hands is that they're making it about the washing of the hands, not in a sanitary way, but in a ritual way that then actually detracts from the meal. And Jesus wants you to be able to examine and look at the way in which you live your life, and to be able to say that as you sometimes maybe give yourself excuse of not following the rules that Jesus puts forth, that maybe he wants you to come more to the middle. Or maybe if you are defined in an unhealthy way by following the exact prescript of the law, that maybe you can just tone it down a little bit and still follow the law without being defined by the law. Jesus is the law. Jesus comes to fulfill all of it. And Jesus, as he gives us his church, wants us to find accompaniment with the church so that when there's a tough rule that maybe we don't know how to follow, that we don't have to say, well, I'm out because I can't follow it. But we don't also have to excuse ourselves and say, well, that's an antiquated thing. And by the way, the leaders aren't following it anyway, so why should we bother? Rules and regulations. What if instead it was about relationship? Because I really do feel like this is the gift that Vatican II gives to us, filled with the Holy Spirit. John the 23rd, my patron saint, love this guy, it's really great. Good peasant Italian guy, really jolly, said, we're going to open the windows. We're going to let in fresh air because we need to not just focus only on the rules. But at the same time, we don't want to just focus only on live and let live. Because really, like Paul McCartney would say, it's live and let die, right? If we're consumed by freedom, just going in circles. By the way, students, sometimes at the 11 o'clock, my references go 20 years, older. So, my peak, it's 1966, because I'm born in 86. But then I try for, 06 at the 4:30, okay? So, great. Yeah, some of the first years are like, okay, all right, we can give you that. Great. But just noticing and recognizing the place of encounter in love and saying, Jesus, this is really difficult, but I trust you, and I'm willing to walk with you and walk with your church because I've also found in the church a place of refuge that I can't find anywhere else. And Lord, as hard as the rules that you and your church have set forth for me are, it's a lot harder to live up to the rules of the world. Have you noticed that the world has all sorts of rules and regulations also? And I'm not talking about easement or 50 feet from the pavement, or this is the type of sidewalk that the city of Clayton will allow Wash U to put in, and that there can be one access point from that street like Oak Hill off Big Bend near Wydown, right? That there's not those types of rules, but there's all these expectations that society puts on us. It's exhausting. What if we lay all that aside and we just let it be about the encounter? Let it be about the relationship. And then we can look to the church, and when we have the tough questions, we can look up what does the Catholic Church say about that, and don't go to tomsblog.com for it, right? Trudy's truthsayer.com. No, go to the catechism where all of these truths have been laid out. I think everybody in this room is capable of living the rules and the regulations. But I think everybody in this room is deserving, first and foremost, of the relationship that flows and dictates those rules. So let's keep wrestling with this as a community. I think one of the ways that we get to wrestle with it is by coming together and talking about Scripture, talking about what it is to be a person of faith in 2024. And our students are a part of great core communities, and some of our community members are a part of great core communities. And I feel like that's one of the best ways that the CSC offers for us to be able to get together and break open the Word. Just a show of hands, how many of you are in a core community right now? Yeah. I'm really happy that you are. I also want to say, it's kind of sad, because the CSC is awesome. And I just want you all to have more and more community, more and more connection, more and more sense of belonging, not just to the church, but to each other. And I think a lot of times community members are asking, well, how can I get more involved? Or how can the CSC maybe serve my needs a little bit better? This is one of the ways that we have to be able to do this. And on your little just kind of pews right now, I just want you to have it in your hand, because we're going to talk about it in a second. There are these sign-up sheets, and I just want you to have those ready, because we're going to invite a good man forward, junior at WashU. Junior? Yeah? English, creative writing? And sociology. Good night. Well, you go to WashU or something? Yeah. But this good man who I've been blessed to know over the past year, Sam Reynolds, is going to come forward and speak to us about what core communities are, and that all of us, community members and students alike, are invited to partake in this year. Sam?